You'll know when you have a wild woman. She'll practice her craft without boundaries. She is truly autonomous. Her loyalty is only to the family she serves, a midwife who will not allow herself to be held back by a system she didn't create.
This podcast is for the birth keepers who want to grow and change. We are open to learning through self-reflection and supportive community. We are creating this space to explore without judgment. We are remembering we were
Born wild. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Born Wild podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sophia. And today I have with me Tifani, who is a really good friend, one of my birth photographers, our personal family photographer. And she has some amazing birth stories to share, as well as her journey of becoming a birth photographer. So I will just hand it right over to you, Tiff, and you can just introduce yourself, your family, and then we'll just start.
Perfect. Well, hi, I'm Tifani from Tifani Beecher Photography. I am not just a birth photographer. I'm a everything photographer, I guess. I do weddings and weddings and families and brand work and fashion, and I do video work. So I do quite a few different things. I've been a photographer for 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I started at the begin when my first daughter was born. And so I guess 7 years. She turns 8 on Sunday, so that's when I started. But yes, I'm a mom. Yeah, I know. I'm a mom of 4 daughters, 8, 6, 4, and almost 2. And Sophia was at 3 of the 4 of my home births.
I was actually just kind of flashing back to you being like, I want a tax baby, like trying to fit her in before the new year. Because it's like right around that time right now. And I've got some mamas who are like, is it this year? Is it next year? And it's like, that's where you were.
I was telling that story today to actually another one of your clients, Tifani Elias. And I was like, just telling her that same exact story. Like, I felt so much pressure to get her on 2013. A lot of pressure. But she didn't.
And she won. You lost.
I lost. Yeah. Or daddy lost. He wanted the tax credit, not me.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you want to tell a little bit about, I'm curious how you even like knew about home birth, because to have your first baby born at home is not like super common. It's becoming more common, but a lot of times it takes having the first baby in the hospital for people to realize they were expecting something different, and start looking into home birth. So how'd you even know about it?
When I was pregnant, I was a esthetician and I was doing waxing, and somebody had mentioned that they had a home birth. And the more that I kind of thought about it, I knew I didn't want an epidural because the fact of like the needle in my back just freaked me out. So I just didn't want that. And when I started going to the OB, it just felt like I was just just another one, like just another number, it's another baby coming through the door. And it just didn't feel warm to me. I wanted a different experience. So the person that I was waxing actually gave me my midwife's name, and I just called her, and that's how it all began. And
how far along were you when you switched?
So long ago, probably like 12 weeks. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember I did start with her until I was just the beginning of my second trimester. So right around 12, 13 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And anything to note from that pregnancy? Was it pretty smooth, or were there any hiccups along the way?
The pregnancy was fine. The labor was my first. It was different. She had a short cord, so it was frustrating because I pushed for a long time. But
what was a long time? Do you know?
I think it was like 4 or 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite a bit. And I remember being very, very frustrated. And I never once said, like, take me to the hospital. I can't do this. I remember saying, like, I can't do this because I'm so tired. Like, I was just tired of pushing. But once she came out, I was like, oh, I'll do this again for sure. And I did it 3 other times.
It's funny because I have a memory from that birth of like coming in and my vision is like you were in the tub and the lights were on. And so I went to like turn down the lights and you were like, no, 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 because there was like a stain on the carpet or something. Then you were like focusing on that and then you could see it. And you were like, wait, turn the lights back on.
I don't, was
Do
it,
you remember that?
I do remember that because I remember, I think I took like a birthing class, I think with you.
Mhm.
And I remember looking like something on the carpet. And
Yeah.
at the birth class, you were like, some people like focus on something. And so I was focused on that spot, and it was like a dark spot. And then the lights turned off, and I was like, "Duh, my spot!" Like I was just like so pissed off. I remember being also very angry at you when every time you came at me with that Doppler thing to hear the baby's heartbeat. It's like, if she does that to me one more time, I'm just gonna like.
Yeah, I remember saying during my son's birthday to the midwife, like, I know my baby's fine. I don't need to listen. And she was like, oh, okay. And later I told her, I was like, I had no idea if he was fine. I just didn't want you to touch me with that thing again because it was so uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, and thinking back now, I don't remember even what it like felt like, but I do remember just not liking that. Just
Yeah.
like,
I think for some women, it really like takes them out of like the zone they're in, the focus. It's very distracting. Yeah.
kind of funny.
Sorry.
It's okay. You're just doing your job.
Cool. Okay. So then what was like immediate postpartum like for you? Anything to mention regarding like the placenta or anything like that?
Um, no, I do remember my first had a heart-shaped placenta, which was cute.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just funny. Like you think you're done, and then you're like, oh, you gotta push that out.
Right.
Um, my first was interesting because I hemorrhaged, so I had to have a shot of Pitocin to get, and she had a short cord, so I couldn't. We had to get the placenta out quickly, so I had
Mm-hmm.
a shot of Pitocin after the baby was already out, so I could get the placenta out. Everything ended up being fine, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
it was just kind of interesting. I was like, I had Pitocin, but the baby was already born.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, you only hear about
Yeah.
Pitocin in the hospital.
Yeah, we use it as midwives. We have it on hand like as an anti-hemorrhagic, for that reason, not for induction or
Yeah.
anything, but to like help the uterus contract to expel the placenta or to slow down bleeding. Yeah.
Oh my, I mean, they were also different. I was talking to my friend today, because she's a home birth mom too, and just like she just had her baby. He's 2 weeks old, and we were just talking about each birth is so different. Like they're just all each of them had each something unique about each of them, but
Yeah, even if you wanted it to be the same, it's not possible. Like,
yeah, yeah, totally.
'cause I haven't even been to two that were the same.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my last one, I wanted it to be so just, I don't know, just so perfect, and I was just, it just wasn't like it wasn't. There was nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't how I envisioned. I was like, oh, my fourth one, I think they'll be easy, and it wasn't at all. I mean, she came out with her hand by her chin, so it was
Uh-huh.
just a lot of work. But
Yeah, yeah. How was extended postpartum and breastfeeding with your first?
good. Breastfeeding was always pretty easy for me. My third had a tongue tie that we had to get released, but other than that, it was all pretty good. I'm a doer, so I got mastitis twice,
Mm-hmm,
2
mm-hmm.
different births, just
Yeah.
because I just can't sit down.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting on the couch with my baby and I'm like, oh, the floor needs to be vacuumed, so I get a vacuum. So
It's so important to like bring that up though, because a lot of people are like, oh, a breast infection, it just like happened. But I have never seen it happen with somebody who was resting. Like it really is your body's way of being like, you're not listening. Like, what can I do to knock you on your butt and get you back to bed? Oh,
yeah,
breast infection.
yeah. No, and I can tell when both times I was like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
okay. And I could, you could just feel them coming on, and they are not fun. I mean,
Yeah.
like now looking back, if I just could tell myself like, just sit on the couch and let somebody else do what needs to be done, because
Yeah. I
it's not fun.
recently assisted another midwife at a birth, and it was the mother's like 13th birth. And she's had like quite a range of ages. She was like from her 20s to however old she was at that point. And she had expressed something in the tub holding her baby, like, oh, that was much easier when I was, 20. But when she was in bed, resting with the baby, she said, I think she had her last 5 at home, her 5 children. And she had said something like, you would think it would be harder to recover because I'm older. But she's like, I recover so much faster now that I actually rest. When I utilize that, like, stay in bed for 2 weeks, like just get up to pee, let everyone else handle everything. And granted, her children are older and more helpful now. But she's like, I recover so much better than when I was younger. So that was when I was like, oh, okay, this is a really good comparison, because she's had all these different ages she's been pregnant, and you'd think it would get harder and harder, but it's gotten easier. And so the rest was really what made the difference for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like as a mom, that's like the only time really in your life you actually can sit in bed. Like, you just, especially at home when there's so many people, not so many, but there's people in there watching, and you're just like, I just did this. I deserve this 2, 3, 4 weeks off sitting in bed. So
yeah. Right. Okay. So then how old was your daughter when you got pregnant with your second?
which daughter? Oh, my second. Okay,
Like
sorry.
from the first to the second. Yeah.
So my first and my second are 25 months apart.
Okay.
And then my second and third are 19 months apart. She came a little quicker than we thought. And then my third and fourth are like 28 months apart, I think.
Okay. How was your pregnancy with your second?
Good. She was the easiest. She was the biggest and the easiest.
Nice. Yeah. How big were your babies?
My first was 8'12". My second was 9'14". I think she was bigger though. The scale was not calibrated. I'll find. My third was 9'4" or 9'8", and then my last was 8'9".
Oh, the littlest.
8'9", yeah, she was the littlest, which is not even that. 8'9" is not.
Right. Yeah. How far along were you with each pregnancy when you gave birth?
I was always late. So my first was 40 weeks and 2 days, and then 40 weeks and 3 days, 40 weeks, and I don't even know. I mean,
But pretty much right around your 40-week mark. Like,
yeah. The longest I had to wait was 6 days.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what about your birth with your second?
It was easy.
Yeah.
I went and got acupuncture. And I remember you texted my midwife and you were like, Tiffany's having acupuncture. I'll see you later. I had acupuncture, and 9 hours later, I was in labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, it was fine. I started labor at 3:30 in the morning. She was out by 7:30. It was like,
yeah. Was I doing birth photography when you were pregnant? Like, did I photograph your first birth?
no, you
I
photographed.
remember when I started.
I think you photographed my second. It was. I had the camera and you just took pictures.
Okay, got it. So I didn't have my camera yet. Okay.
I hired you to do my third.
Okay.
The camera was just there and you were just like messing around with it. But then
Okay, cool. And then your pregnancy with your third, everything straightforward, or?
everything was fine. Yeah, everything's fine. Her labor was the longest, which I was very surprised because it was like 8 hours, 4 hours. So I was like, oh, this baby's gonna like
2 hours.
fly out like 2 hours. No, she was the longest, and
Some say the third is the wild card, right?
yeah, because I remember walking around the lake. I was feeling like it was time to go, and then I was like, I gotta walk around the whole lake by myself. Well, I was just like, I'm going, like I'm leaving right now. I'm gonna walk around the lake. And I remember looking back, I was having contractions like the whole time around the lake. I was like stopping and like, oh, I'm kind of crampy. People are looking at me. And then when I came home, I was like, okay, this is labor. And it's funny because that's the one that my 2 older kids, or no, that's my 4th birth. Sorry. They'll run together. But I do remember that being the longest and the most frustrating because I thought it was going to be so short.
It's like as soon as you have an expectation, the baby's like, I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But then my fourth one, I was going to say, was pregnancy was fine. Everything was great. She was long. Or was it my fourth one that was? I don't even remember. Maybe my fourth one was long. Anyways, I don't remember how long I labored, but I do remember my older two girls were 6 and 4, and I was like laboring against my counter and like leaning on the counter and kind of rocking and moaning. And still to this day, they go to that counter and go, "This is mommy in labor," and they like stand there and like sway back and forth and like make fun of me.
So were your girls at all the other births, and what was that like? Because I know that is a big question for some parents, especially if their kids are younger. Like, do we want them there? Do we want them to be with somebody else, or to like send them to grandma and grandpa's? So what was that decision like for you guys, whether you had them there or not?
Yeah, I couldn't think of them not being there. My mom was always there, so she was helpful. But the older they got, like my older two, for my last one, I really wanted or asked my older daughter, she was 6.5 at the time, if she wanted to catch the baby. And she's like, "Yeah, I want to do it. But then when it came time to it,
She froze.
like, like, and it was a little bit, because I had to get out of the water with my last one. Her hand was kind of stuck and I just couldn't push her out in the water. I just felt like I just needed to get out. And so I got out, got on all fours, and the midwife helped her out, but that kind of scared them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just, it didn't scare them. They were just like, "What's going on?" Like,
yeah.
And then my third daughter slept through the birth of my fourth. So she wasn't even there the whole time. But yeah, I mean, I love having them there. I couldn't imagine not having them there. They always want to get in the water, right when you put the pool up. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's cool for them to watch that.
Yeah. Did you do any like prep work with them, like reading books or showing videos of what to expect, or did they just experienced it and it was fine for them?
They just experienced. It's always just been how it was at our house. They think that that's how most people have babies. Like my friends that have had babies in the hospital, they're like, "Why are they going to the hospital?" Or they'll ask like, "Oh, did you have the baby in the pool or in your bed?" Kind of thing. And it's like, "Oh no, they were just so they don't know any different."
Yeah.
It was kind of normal in my house.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I didn't prep them. It was just like, "Oh, the baby's coming. Blow up the pool."
Yeah, because I know some parents are like, "Oh gosh, like what if I'm loud and I scare them or something like that, or they see blood and they feel scared," but that just was not a thing for them. They're like, "Oh, mom's always hooting and hollering about something."
Yeah, honestly, maybe I should have thought more about that, but I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it
And
just needs to be a thing.
they were all pretty young. I mean, I had my last one. My oldest was 6.5, so it's not like, I mean, she was old enough to see. I don't know. I just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
That's just how we had them.
Yeah, it's great because like sometimes it is like the energy you put into it. If you're worried about it, then maybe it's not a good idea because you're going to get hung up on them being there and you're going to feel like you need to quiet yourself so you don't scare them, and that affects your labor. But if you're like, whatever, they'll handle it, I'm handling it, then everyone just handles it.
Yeah, it's just it just is what it is.
It's life. Great.
Yeah, totally.
Cool. So at what point in this journey did you go, "I want to be a photographer"? And was it like specifically like, "I want to be a birth photographer," and all the other things unfolded, or did you start somewhere else? Like,
how did that start? It was obviously after my first. I think I was pregnant with my second and just, I don't think I'd ever heard of it. And my midwife was a midwife for somebody else and was like, "You should come to this birth just to check it out." So she called and she's like, you should come. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And she's like, just come. So I went down and you were there, I think, if I remember correctly. And I walked in and just started shooting. It was just, I remember just being in so much awe of what I had just witnessed. I was like bawling. I'm surprised the
Is
pictures
this
were.
in Petaluma?
Yes.
I know the birth you're talking about. Yeah, I was there.
And I remember like not knowing exactly what to do or even where to stand or even like flash on my camera. I was like, can I use flash? I don't even have like, what is going on? It was just like walk in, take photos. And then I left like going, oh my gosh, what did I just witness? But I loved it. Like I remember leaving and knowing that if I could choose to be a full-time birth photographer, I totally would. Because it's like my favorite kind of photography. It's documentary. You can't pose in anything.
Yeah, it's exciting. You don't know what to expect. And
yeah. And you get to be in this like amazing space that that nobody's really invited into. It's just certain people. And it's challenging too, because you think you're gonna, oh, she's gonna have the baby in the tub. And then pretty soon she's on the bed and you have to like go move your camera and, do all these other things. So it's not like, I don't know, it's just great. It's just it's my favorite kind of photography for sure.
yeah, keeps you on your toes. There's a little adrenaline rush. And then you get the dose of oxytocin that comes after. And
well, and then also like I remember leaving and delivering those images to that mom and her saying like, oh, I didn't even get to see dad's face when he held the baby because I was, doing something else, or, oh, I didn't know I looked like that. I forgot that part. So I've always said like, I love giving images to people so they can see what we saw, because when you're giving birth, you're not focused on anything but the pain and getting the baby out, right? But there's so many other things that are going on that you miss. The midwife interacting with the child, the little brother or the big brother, big sister, or, them filling the tub, or, just all these things that go on that you don't get to see. But then when you get your birth photos delivered, it's like you're reliving it without the pain.
Yeah. It's like,
so
because some people are like birth photography, and I'm like, well, it's not like before and afters of your vagina. It's more about like capturing the moments and the experiences and the look on dad's face when he sees the baby, and all those things you mentioned. That you're actually capturing moments, not necessarily like portraits. Did you have this experience? Because when I was doing photography, I remembered there was a couple times where people would be like, oh, did you see like when the baby came XYZ? And I'm like, no, because I almost feel like I missed the births because I was so focused on the lighting and the angles and like, is the camera in focus and, moving here and getting the right, like that. I was so focused on all the other things that I kind of didn't really even witness the births. And it was when I plugged my camera in when I got home and it was all loading onto my computer and I was watching like the playback that I feel like I was actually like witnessing the birth. So that was one of my like sadnesses. I'm like, when I put my camera down, I'm just present as a midwife. I like see the birth, but when I'm behind the lens, there's like all these other things I'm so focused on, that I felt like I kind of missed it. Do you feel that way or?
Yes, it's kind of funny. I felt like I had this conversations with my friend earlier today because I was telling her it's so different when I'm photographing a friend versus a client. Because when I'm photographing a client, like my main objective is to catch the moments, but like the birth, they want to see the birth of their child, right? So you're right. So you're constantly thinking about that moment and how quick it's going to be and the right angles and the light and all those things. And yes, so you're like, I got to get that shot that it's not like you miss the birth. Sometimes I have to catch myself like not to stop watching and actually like do my job, because you just want to like cheer them on, right? Instead of like, click the camera, you want to just be like, come on, you can do it. But then watching my friends give birth and photographing those births, I feel like are harder because it's like a fine line between you want to do your job and you want to get the images that they want, but you also want to just put the camera down and just grab their hand and go like, count with him, and you want to just do it with them.
I actually have a picture I took from my phone of you taking a picture with your camera, holding one of your friend's hands in the tub. Like you had to do both, I think in that moment she needed a hand and you were the closest, but it's like, yeah, sometimes you do both.
Yeah. So I mean, I've shot a couple of my friends' births, and that's the one thing that I find is the hardest, is like being there as a friend, but also doing your job. But yeah.
The last birth we were at together, we were making some jokes about how you were like, I'm not even sure any of these are in focus because I'm crying so much. Like,
no, and I actually shot my friend's birth. She's actually, the baby's my goddaughter, and I have images of her that are not in focus because I was crying and shooting, and like just gave them like, I'm sorry, here they are. They're not in focus because I'm like, I have no idea. I'm just clicking, right? Yeah, no, I have proof that that happens.
So what has it been like being a photographer, a birth photographer, for anyone who's looking into that? Because it's I would think a small percentage of people are looking for that. And like, do you go into hospitals? I mean, maybe things have changed since COVID, do you find it's mostly home births that people are looking to have documented? Like, what has that journey been like, and how are people finding you? And yeah, what has that been like for you?
I haven't done hospital births in a long time. It's mostly home births. And I don't really advertise myself too much because it's a lot to do home birth. It's just a lot on my schedule, like hard for the schedule in my family, because you're on call for so long and you don't know when the baby's coming and things like that. But yeah, so I don't really advertise. People find me just basically through word of mouth or through other midwives that know of me and my name.
Yeah.
I haven't done hospital birth in a long time.
Mine was the last one, maybe.
I think no, I had one after that.
Okay.
My goddaughter. But now with COVID, like they don't even, somebody asked me the other day, but COVID.
I was curious because I wanted to mention too that you were the leader in the area for Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, which is the organization that goes into the hospital and documents stillbirths or losses for families. And I was part of that team with you for a little while when I was doing photography. With COVID, has that completely stopped too? Because that would be so heartbreaking.
Yeah, in 2020 or 2019. What year are we? 2021?
Barely.
2020, that was hard because we just didn't know. So a lot of us just stayed clear of the hospital. There was only a couple demises that we didn't do for COVID reasons, but now we go in and
you can go in. Okay.
We can go in and
what has that experience been like for you? And like, why did you look into starting to do that? It's such a great service for people who don't know about it.
Yeah, my best friend and I were pregnant at the same time. She was 3 weeks ahead of me with my third and her second. And she lost the baby at 39 weeks. And I had my daughter 6 weeks later. So super hard, like the hardest experience I've ever gone through. And I have a healthy 4-year-old. So I started doing it. I was supposed to photograph that baby's birth, and I didn't because when the baby passed, I was like, let me come in and I'll take photos. And she had Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep come in, and I'm thankful because I don't think I could have done it. There was just so much, just too many emotions, too much guilt. So that's how I found out about them. And then I started volunteering in that baby's honor. And then I became the area manager. So now I'm the area coordinator. So yeah, I'm in charge of these 3 hospitals And when there's a demise, they call me and I organize who goes in and takes the photos. And
Mhm.
so, yeah.
It's an awesome service. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's such an important thing to do because these are the only images that these people are going to have of their baby.
Mhm.
And it's such an honor because I'm one of the only people that are ever going to meet that baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've done it, and it's such a important service.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Well, is there anything else? Like I know you say that you do all the things, but if you could just do birth photography, you would do just that. Is it just like there's not enough interest, or it's you can only take on so many clients, so you couldn't possibly just do that full time, and so you ended up branching out into other areas? I know for me, the birth photography was like my favorite because that's our passion, obviously. But I was like, photography was such a great resource because you can offer photos at any time of the year to anyone for any occasion. And so you could just like branch out so much. It was so great. It like helped put me through midwifery school. So yeah, what did you advertise for any of that? Did people just start reaching out and be like, hey, can you take some family photos, or how'd that all unwind?
Let me see. I started just doing family photography just because I've kind of wanted to kind of touch on a bunch of different photography,
Mhm.
um, portraits and brands and fashion, just because I'm a kind of person, I need to be challenged. And if I'm not challenged, I get bored and then I move on to something else.
Mhm.
So I've just kind of learned a bunch of different stuff in photography. Now I'm doing some studio and flash stuff and just different things. But it is interesting to me about birth photography is that people will spend upwards of $8,000 on their wedding photography, which is like a very important moment in your life, right? But when it comes to birth photography, they don't like that's almost a bigger moment in your life. Like you should be spending you should be putting and investing in a good photographer and somebody that is passionate about and knows light and is experienced in births, home births and hospital, and like
You're asking more from the photographer too, because I've seen it compared to wedding photography. There was like this spoof or something in this blog where it was like, oh, I really want you to photograph my wedding. They're like, okay, great. What day is it? They're like, not sure. It's going to be this range, the 6-week range, like, somewhere in between here. And they're like, okay, well, when will you know by? Well, I'm just going to call you and let you know when it's happening. And then you just come over as soon as you can. And they're like, was there like a time frame? Nope, could be the middle of the night. Like, I'm not sure. We're just going to decide at the last minute and then just like have it. And like, okay, what about lighting? Like, I'm actually probably going to prefer to have it be really dark, you know, so we can be really present. But we want this list of things that we want you to capture. And it's just like, but we're only going to pay you like a quarter of what we would pay.
$500. Yeah.
But don't you want to just do it for the experience? Or you're like, experience doesn't feed my kids.
Yeah. And that's honestly a part of the reason why I haven't really, I don't market myself as a birth photographer because like when you have 4 kids, logistically, it's just hard to drop what you're doing if there's kids that need to be picked up from school and things like that. So I have to charge quite a bit because if I'm going to have to pay for babysitters, or if I'm on call and I can't book anything, if I can't book myself pretty solid for 2 weeks, week before and week after due date, if I can't book myself with other sessions, that's money that I'm missing out on. So logistically it's hard. So that's one of the reasons.
Have you ever had a situation where you were like where you were booked for, let's say, a wedding that can't be rescheduled? Like family photos, you could like bump that if you needed to, but like a wedding and where like a birth could potentially conflict with that, like would you just have like a really good backup in place, or have you never been in that situation?
I don't book births and weddings close together, but
Mhm.
I have had to have backup, like I was gone or something, like I had to be doing something on the day that I was on call, so I've had to have backups for that. But um, yeah, so like when you have 4 kids and it's just logistically can be hard as a birth photographer. But if I could and I had just a babysitter, like I would literally choose to do birth photography. That's all I would do, like
Yeah.
photography wise, because it is.
Well, once they're old enough to stay home alone, then it's game on.
Yeah, totally. But it's,
I
yeah.
know one of the things I was so appreciative of, because you started, I think you kind of became our photographer when Benji was little and you would come over and do pictures. Were we like one of the first people that I remember you coming over and saying, "Hey, I'm starting to like dabble in like video, and is it okay if I like shoot some video?" And I was like, "Sure." And it was when he was like learning to crawl or something like that. Um, and so we would have you come over and do pictures and video. Oh, you did his newborn photos. I think he was like 2 months old because it was when we got home from the hospital. And it was the first time he started laughing. It was in the tub. We were doing like a milk bath and he
Oh,
just
yeah,
started belly laughing. He had a colostomy bag for anyone who doesn't know. And so it was kind of like puffing up with air in the water. And I'm like, okay, let me like vent it so I can like put it under the water. And I was like, oh, it's so stinky. And he just died laughing. It was his first laugh. Of course, it was over the word stinky, you know?
I do remember that session. Yeah, it's kind
Yeah,
of
it
funny
was,
to look
it was so
back.
cute.
Yeah, totally. I look back now and I think like, you're always learning as a photographer, and I think that's why I've been doing it for as long as because I'm like a serial career changer. Like I get bored, so I move on to something else. But this is the longest I've done something, but because it's so challenging, like you're always growing, you're always learning, you're always trying something new. And I remember if I could look back at some of the things that I've done in the past, it's like, oh, I should have done that differently. Or if I could go repeat it with what I know now that I knew then, it's like,
Yeah.
oh.
Have you ever gone back to old photos with like the editing skills you have now and like do it differently?
Just a couple times.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have time to really go back and like
Yeah.
reedit everything, but yeah, I mean, I probably should be like, oh,
Just for fun, like, oh, what would it look like? But what I was going to say is when I had Gracie, you are our birth photographer, and I had her early. So we went to the hospital, and, I ended up with a C-section, and she was, very ill, and she was in the NICU for a while. But I remember being like, I didn't remember anything else on my birth plan, like in case of cesarean, but I was like, I will not sign this consent form unless you say my photographer can come in. Like this is a deal breaker for me. And so you got to come in. Was that your first cesarean to photograph? Yeah.
I think it was my only cesarean I've ever
Uh-huh.
photographed. I've been
Yeah.
in a ton of hospital births, but
Yeah.
yeah, I remember I was like, oh my God, oh, I was so nervous. And I remember you had told me one time, it was before your birth, you had said, like, just watch your ISO when you get into um, the operating room because the lights are much brighter than in the.
Right.
And I still remember that, like to this day when I'm in a hospital, I was like, oh, I gotta watch my. And then, of course now I know.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's like
Yeah.
must.
And I remember being like, just photograph everything. Like, don't ask permission. You can always just apologize if you're like, please don't shoot that. I'm like, just capture everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but I remember being really appreciative because there were like 2 or 3 different times where you came back, like when I got to hold her for the first time days later, and when I got to nurse her for the first time, like, and when we went home with her, you would just pop over and do some quick sessions, and you made a little, a video for us of the whole experience because it really didn't end with her birth. Like it just continued for weeks, her story, and it was so great. And I cry every time I watch that video, and she loves watching that video. And
good.
yeah, we're
Yeah,
so appreciative.
that's kind of you're right when I started kind of doing video, kind of dabbling, and yeah, it's I mean photography too, but like with video you can totally create like a whole story, like a little bit more of an impactful story in some ways. But I remember yours, like I wanted the start to finish, like I wanted the babies, like I wanted her to leave the hospital.
Yes.
So I made sure, and I was like, wait, you're going back? My husband, Noah, he's like, you're going back to, yeah, this is a crucial part in her story. I need to get it.
I really appreciated it because they were such big moments for us, that if they weren't part of the story, it would have felt, not complete. Yeah. So
I don't do that for everybody, but
this is not part of the service.
no, I come back 4 times to photograph the baby's hypertension. No, it doesn't happen that way.
You gotta have a special in.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Was there anything else that we didn't touch base on that maybe there were like lessons learned in your birth, or just, any tips for any aspiring photographers that, if you had known then what you know now, kind of things? Or we pretty much cover it all.
It always makes me laugh when I'm at a midwives have this thing of turning the lights down. It's like, I never for the longest time would shoot with flash. I just felt like it was very intrusive to the mom, and it just wasn't my thing. So I would always have to find ways to like not have my ISO be at like 32,000 or 60, like just crazy, or just deal with the fact that I was going to have a grainy photo. Or like cracking the door just a little bit. I remember one birth, I literally had to crack the door and the light was coming from the bathroom, like just framing her face. And it ended up being a really cool photo, but it was the only way I was going to get a picture, because the photography is all about light, right? And if you have none, you can't take a photo. So it always makes me laugh. It's like, I know the moment that the midwives are just like creeping those lights down, and I just want to like go back and just like creep them up just a little bit more. And it's like this, like, not like a fight, but just like battle of light.
Yeah, she invited me here for photos. Help me out.
Yeah. And I really have to tell people, like, before I was using flash, because some moms don't even want you to use flash. Like, it's just too much. You have to just be like, sorry, your photos are probably going to be grainy.
Yeah.
But grainy's in right now, so.
Yeah. It's a look. Well, yeah. We have 3 questions that we always end our interviews with. So the first one would be, if you could go back to your teenage self and tell her anything, what would it be?
Oh, heavens. I don't even know. I'm not one person that lives in the past. I'm always a doer, but maybe just slow down and kind of enjoy it more. I just do things when I stop, so I'd probably just say slow down.
Yeah, I need that reminder.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what about if your belly button had a superpower? You could push it and it could do anything. What would it be?
Belly button superpower. Who came up with that question? I don't even know. I don't know. Fly.
Oh, yeah.
Superpower, is that a flying superpower?
Yeah, flying. Yeah, totally. That's one of my like most favorite dreams. I wish I could like make that dream happen, is like when I have flying dreams, they're the best.
I don't think I've ever had one.
Really? Are you missing out?
I've had falling off the cliff dreams.
Oh, that's very different.
You're like, I'm falling.
When you go to bed tonight, just press your belly button and see what happens. Okay, last question is, what is your, okay, wait, how do I say it? What is your most unpopular opinion?
About myself or about anything?
In general.
Star Wars is stupid?
No, I'm not shocked.
Oh, no.
That answer right away.
The seltzers, the Trulies and the seltzer drinks are gross.
Oh,
that's another. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my thinking of my Star Wars. Dumb. I've been watching it last night, and I was like, "This is dumb."
You're gonna get a hate mail now. No.
I know. I'm gonna get hired because I don't like Star Wars.
Oh, well, it was so great chatting with you, and thank you for joining me. Can you leave any contact info for anyone who wants to get a hold of you? We'll put it in the show notes.
Totally. Yeah. TifaniBeecher.com.
Great.
But my name's spelled weird, so spelled different.
Yeah, we'll spell it out in the show notes for anyone who wants to find you. Cool.
Perfect.
Great. Well, thank you again.
Yep. All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay, don't. Thanks everybody for listening. You can find us at Born Wild Podcast on Instagram. For inquiries or feedback, you can email us at bornwildpodcast@gmail.com. You can find me, Emma Ray, on Instagram at Emma Ray, REA. Sophia at sophiabirth.com. And me, Leah, at Bay Area Homebirth. We would really appreciate it if you would rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps us reach more people. And as always, stay wild.